The hidden trait women can't ignore, backed by psychology. Have you ever wondered why some men, who are the tallest, the richest, or even the most physically impressive, still seem to draw women in effortlessly? It's not a trick. It's not an illusion. Psychology has studied this for decades, and the answer always points back to one powerful, invisible trait. It's not charm. It's not even confidence in the shallow way we usually think of it. It's something deeper, something that can't be faked for long. That trait is emotional stability. You see, research consistently shows that women are naturally drawn to men who display calmness under pressure, self-control in moments of stress, and an unshakable sense of inner grounding. Why? Because emotional stability signals strength, predictability, and safety. It tells her, without a word being spoken, that this man can weather the storms of life without collapsing. And here's the twist. This isn't just about romance. People in general, friends, colleagues, even strangers, are magnetically pulled toward individuals who radiate steadiness and composure. Imagine two men. One gets rattled by the smallest setback, snapping at people, losing control, spiraling emotionally. The other? He takes a breath, remains calm, and makes decisions with clarity. Both walk into the same room. One feels like a burden. The other feels like an anchor. Who do you think women, on a subconscious level, lean toward? The answer is obvious, and psychology confirms it. Emotional stability consistently ranks among the top desirable traits women look for in long-term partners. Not looks, not money, not even intelligence alone, but the ability to remain grounded. And here's where it gets fascinating. This isn't a new discovery. The Stoics, over 2,000 years ago, were already teaching men that mastery of the self is the highest form of strength. They believed that a man who can command his emotions commands his life. In other words, the very thing modern psychology is proving today, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca were already living centuries ago. This is the trait women can't ignore. The question is, how do you build it? That's where the story begins. Why looks and status aren't the whole story. Opening tone, conversational, almost challenging, breaking a common myth society loves to sell us a lie. You've heard 1,000 times, if you want women to notice you, get rich, get ripped, and drive the car everyone envies. And sure, those things might catch eyes. They might even spark curiosity. But let's be brutally honest here. Looks fade, money comes and goes, and status can crumble overnight. If attraction were built only on those things, every millionaire and male model would have perfect relationships. But we know that's not the case. Divorce courts are full of wealthy, attractive men who still couldn't keep love alive. Why? Because attraction isn't glued to surface-level qualities. It's rooted in something much deeper. Psychologists call it long-term mate value. That's a fancy way of saying women aren't just scanning for a man's resources. They're scanning for who he is when the mask comes off. When the argument heats up, when money gets tight, when life throws chaos into the mix, does he crack? Or does he stand firm? Because here's the truth. Status without stability feels dangerous. A handsome face with a volatile temper is a recipe for stress, not love. A fat bank account paired with insecurity doesn't inspire trust. It breeds resentment. Think about it like this. Looks and status are like fire. They spark fast, they burn bright, but without the grounding force of stability, the fire consumes instead of warms. Women might be impressed by muscles, by ambition, by wealth, but they are attracted to the man who can hold all of those things without being controlled by them. This is why studies show that women consistently rate traits like self-control, patience, and resilience above wealth or beauty in terms of long-term attraction. Not because looks or money don't matter, but because they're incomplete without the foundation of inner strength. And this is where Stoic wisdom cuts through the noise. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Looks, wealth, status, those are outside events. Fragile. temporary. But your mind, your inner command center, that's yours to master. And when you do, you project the kind of quiet power that no gym membership or luxury car can replicate. So if you've been chasing looks and status alone, maybe it's time to shift your focus. Because the real magnetic force is who you become when the world tests you. The pain of modern dating and what men get wrong. Let's be honest, modern dating feels broken for a lot of men. You put in effort. You match on apps. You text, maybe even meet for coffee. And then, silence. Ghosting. Mixed signals. A sudden disappearance you can't explain. It's frustrating. It's exhausting. And it leaves you questioning yourself. Am I not good enough? Do I need to look better? Do I need more money? Am I too boring? These thoughts swirl endlessly, draining your confidence. And here's the painful truth. Many men, in that desperation, double down on the wrong strategies. They try harder to impress with things that don't actually create attraction. They flex possessions. They overshare achievements. They perform a version of themselves that feels more like a mask than a man. But here's what psychology tells us. The more you chase validation, the more you push it away. Why? Because neediness, whether it's hidden under charm or disguised as confidence, leaks through. And nothing kills attraction faster than emotional instability disguised as effort. Women don't ghost because you weren't tall enough or didn't drive the right car. More often, they ghost because they felt the subtle weight of insecurity pressing in. They felt you needing their attention, their approval, their validation to feel whole. That, right there, is what men get wrong. Now, here's where the pain really sets in. Because in the world we live in, social media highlight reels, dating apps built on swipes, endless comparison, men are taught to compete on the wrong battlefield. You're told to polish the surface when the real battle is internal. And the more men chase surface validation, the more burned out they feel. It's why so many guys describe dating as a game they don't want to play anymore. It's not that women are the enemy. It's that the rules men think they're playing by aren't the real rules at all. Stoic philosophy saw this centuries ago. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Modern dating may be unpredictable. People may ghost. Trends may shift. But the one constant, the one thing that will always matter, is how grounded you are within yourself. Because a man who isn't shaken by rejection, who isn't desperate for attention, who isn't controlled by fear of being alone, becomes rare. And rarity is magnetic. So, if you've been feeling the pain of modern dating, understand this. You're not broken. You're just focusing on the wrong battlefield. Shift the fight inward, and you'll stop losing where it matters most. Marcus Aurelius and the timeless masculine principle. Picture this. Rome, nearly 2,000 years ago. The empire is stretched thin, wars at the borders, betrayal within the Senate, plague creeping through the cities. And at the center of it all, one man carries the weight of the world on his shoulders. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king. Now, imagine being in his position. Every decision affects millions of lives. Every day brings chaos, uncertainty, and threats that could topple an empire. Yet in the middle of this storm, Marcus didn't collapse under the pressure. Instead, he wrote pages and pages of private reflections, what we now call meditations. Not meant for the world, not meant to impress, just reminders to himself of one thing. Master yourself first, or you'll master nothing at all. Marcus Aurelius embodied what psychology today describes as the most magnetic masculine principle, inner stability. When you read his words, you realize something powerful. He wasn't trying to be perfect. He wasn't pretending he didn't feel fear, anger, or doubt. He simply refused to let those emotions control him. He knew the world outside his mind was chaos, but inside he built order. And isn't that exactly what women, and people in general, crave in a man? Someone who doesn't explode under stress. Someone who doesn't let fear dictate his choices. Someone who can take a hit from life, pause, and respond with clarity. Think about it. If Marcus Aurelius, with an empire on fire, could sit down and remind himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events, then what excuse do we have when we let a late text reply, a ghosted date, or a bad day at work shatter our sense of self? This is the timeless masculine principle. Strength is not the absence of emotion, but the ability to hold it without breaking. Modern psychology echoes this truth. Women aren't searching for a flawless man. They're searching for a grounded man. Not the loudest, not the richest, not the most dominant in the room, but the one who radiates calm certainty. Because calm is rare. Calm is safety. Calm is power. And the good news? You don't have to be an emperor to embody this. You don't need a throne. You don't need wealth or fame. You just need to practice what Marcus practiced, owning the one battlefield no one can take from you, your mind. The surprising study that reveals what truly attracts women. Opening tone, curious, almost conspiratorial, drawing the viewer into the secret psychology, finding here's something fascinating. In 2019, a large-scale psychological study set out to answer a simple but powerful question. What do women actually want most in a long-term partner? Now, you might expect the usual suspects: height, money, looks, or even intelligence. But when researchers compiled the data, one trait consistently stood above the rest. Not wealth, not physical appearance, not even humor, though that ranked high. It was emotional stability. Think about that for a moment. Out of all the qualities women could desire, the one that repeatedly rises to the top is the ability to stay calm, balanced, and grounded. The study found that women view emotionally stable men as more dependable, more trustworthy, and ultimately more attractive, not just for dating, but for life partnership. And here's the kicker. This isn't just a modern result. Across cultures, across demographics, emotional stability shows up as one of the top predictors of both attraction and relationship satisfaction. Why? Because from an evolutionary standpoint, stability equals survival. A man who can handle stress, regulate his emotions, and remain composed under pressure signals to a woman's subconscious, I can protect. I can provide safety. I won't collapse when life gets hard. Now, let's bring this back to your world. When a woman senses you're easily triggered, overly reactive, or emotionally chaotic, it doesn't matter how good you look on paper. Her instincts warn her. This isn't safe. But when she senses composure, calmness, and presence, her instincts lean in. This is rare. This is strong. This is worth trusting. This study is proof of something Marcus Aurelius wrote nearly 2,000 years ago. A man's worth is measured by the things he lets disturb him. Modern science, ancient wisdom, they converge on the same truth. It's not the size of your bank account, your biceps, or your follower count that makes you magnetic. It's the size of your inner stillness. And the best part? Unlike looks or status, this isn't something you're born with or without. Emotional stability is a skill, a muscle, something you can train if you're willing to put in the work. How inner strength creates magnetic confidence. Confidence. Every dating coach, every self-help book, every motivational speaker loves to talk about it. But here's the question nobody seems to answer. Where does real confidence actually come from? Because let's face it, fake confidence is everywhere. Loud voices, flashy cars, exaggerated stories, and need to dominate every room. But deep down, people, especially women, can smell the difference between a man who is performing confidence and a man who is confident. So where does the real thing come from? The answer is simple: inner strength. When you've trained yourself to stay calm in chaos, when you've proven to yourself that you can survive rejection, loss, or failure without collapsing, when you've built the muscle of emotional stability, confidence stops being something you act out. It becomes who you are. That's why women are drawn to it. Because true confidence isn't loud. It's not boastful. It's quiet, steady, magnetic. It's the kind of presence that makes people feel safer just by standing next to you. Think of it like a tree in a storm. The branches whip, The leaves scatter, but the trunk stands firm. That's inner strength. And the tree doesn't need to shout, "Look how strong I am." You just know. That's the kind of confidence inner strength creates. And that's the kind of confidence women naturally gravitate toward, because it signals dependability, resilience, and self-mastery. Psychology confirms this. Studies on attraction show that self-assured men who don't need constant reassurance, who aren't desperate for validation, are consistently rated as more attractive. Not because they're arrogant, but because their calm signals competence. This ties directly back to Stoic wisdom. Seneca wrote, "A man who suffers before is necessary suffers more than is necessary." Inner strength means you don't crumble at the first sign of difficulty. You don't suffer twice. You carry yourself with a calm assurance that says, "Whatever happens, I'll handle it." And when that assurance is real, people feel it. Women feel it. It doesn't need to be said. It radiates silently. So if you've ever wondered why some men walk into a room and draw attention without saying a word, here's the truth. It's not the clothes, not the jawline, not the watch. It's the invisible gravity of inner strength, the kind that creates unshakable confidence. The difference between external validation and inner power. Here's a question few men ever stop to ask themselves. Where does my sense of worth come from? For most, the answer is uncomfortable. It comes from outside, likes on Instagram, attention from women, respect from peers, or the approval of strangers. This is what psychologists call external validation. The problem? External validation is like quicksand. The more you rely on it, the deeper you sink. Because it's never enough. You get one compliment, and then you need 10 more. You get one date, and now you crave the next. You get one like, and suddenly you're checking your phone every 10 minutes to see if more have arrived. External validation feels good in the moment, but it creates dependency. And dependency always looks like weakness. Inner power, on the other hand, is different. Inner power doesn't come from someone's attention. It comes from self-mastery. It's knowing who you are when the noise fades. It's holding your ground when no one is watching, and especially when no one is clapping. Women feel this difference instantly. A man chasing external validation puts off an energy of neediness. He needs her to respond quickly. He needs her to say the right words. He needs her attention to feel alive. But the man with inner power? He's steady. He doesn't need her attention to validate his worth. He wants connection, yes, but he doesn't need it to function. And that makes him infinitely more attractive, because his presence feels like a choice, not a plea. Think of it like this. External validation is like borrowing strength from others, while inner power is like owning your own unshakable foundation. One collapses the moment approval disappears. The other stands even in silence. The Stoics knew this truth well. Epictetus warned, "If you seek outside approval, you have made yourself a slave." Harsh words, but real. Because every time your self-worth depends on someone else's opinion, you've handed them the keys to your mind. True freedom and true attraction comes from reclaiming those keys. Modern psychology and ancient philosophy agree. Women don't want a man who crumbles without applause. They want a man who carries an inner fire, a self-assurance that doesn't need to be fed every 5 minutes. So ask yourself, are you living for their validation or from your inner power? The answer will shape every interaction you have. Practical steps to cultivate this trait in your own life. Up to this point, we've uncovered the truth. Women are deeply attracted to emotional stability, to that inner strength that creates magnetic confidence. But here's the big question. How do you actually build it? The good news is this. Inner strength isn't something you're born with or without. It's not reserved for emperors, philosophers, or CEOs. It's a practice, a discipline. Just like lifting weights builds muscle, training your mind builds stability. So let's break it down into steps you can start using today. Step 1. Master your breath before you master your words. When emotions spike, anger, fear, frustration, your breath is the first thing to go. Short, Shallow breathing puts your body into fight or flight mode. Control it, and you control the storm. Practice pausing and taking 3 deep, slow breaths before responding in heated moments. It sounds simple, but this single shift rewires your nervous system toward calm. Step 2. Journal like a stoic. Marcus Aurelius didn't just magically stay grounded. He wrote. Every night, he poured his thoughts onto paper, confronting his fears, reminding himself of truths he didn't want to forget. Try the same. Before bed, write down what challenged you today, how you reacted, and how you could respond better tomorrow. Over time, this creates emotional awareness, and awareness is the first step to mastery. Step 3. Seek discomfort daily. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. Cold showers, tough workouts, difficult conversations. These micro-challenges train your mind to stay calm in discomfort. Each time you face something hard and stay composed, you strengthen the muscle of emotional stability. Step 4. Reframe rejection. Most men collapse under rejection because they see it as a reflection of their worth. But rejection isn't personal, it's preference. When someone walks away, it doesn't say, "You're not valuable." It says, "You're not their fit." Train yourself to see rejection not as a loss, but as redirection. Step 5. Anchor yourself in principles, not outcomes. Stoics live by this. Don't tie your peace of mind to results. Tie it to your effort and values. You can't control how she responds, how people treat you, or whether the world applauds. But you can control whether you live with honesty, discipline, and courage today. That anchor makes you unshakable. Here's the truth. Building inner strength isn't glamorous. No one claps when you pause to breathe instead of shouting. No one sees the journal entries where you confront yourself. No one gives you instant validation when you choose discomfort. But silently, day by day, you're building a foundation that can't be faked, and that's exactly why it becomes magnetic. Real-life scenarios. How this trait changes the game. It's one thing to talk about emotional stability as an idea, but let's make it real. Let's step into the moments where this trait changes everything. Scenario 1. The argument. You're out with a woman you've been seeing. Something small triggers an argument. Most men panic here. They raise their voice, defend their ego, or shut down completely. The energy shifts, tension rises, and what could have been a small disagreement becomes a deal breaker. But the man with emotional stability? He listens. He breathes. He doesn't react to every word like it's a personal attack. He grounds himself first, then responds with clarity. The result? She feels safe. She feels heard. And instead of walking away thinking he's immature, she walks away thinking he's different. Scenario 2. The date that fizzles. You're on a first date. The conversation feels a little awkward. Most guys spiral here, overthinking every silence, cracking nervous jokes, desperately trying to fill the space. But the stable man? He doesn't rush. He lets silence breathe. He asks thoughtful questions. He stays calm enough to let connection unfold naturally. That calm presence transforms awkwardness into comfort. Scenario 3. The rejection. She says, "I'm not looking for anything right now." Most men either lash out in anger, beg for a second chance, or collapse in his self-pity. But the stable man? He smiles, thanks her honestly for her time, and moves on. No bitterness. No resentment. That moment of grace not only preserves his dignity, it leaves her thinking, wow, he handled that better than most. Scenario 4. The chaos of life. Job stress. Financial setbacks. Family issues. These pressures test every relationship. Women don't expect men to never struggle. They expect men not to drown in their struggles. A stable man acknowledges the chaos, but he doesn't dump it recklessly onto her. Instead, he steadies himself first, then brings her solutions, presence, and calm energy. That reliability becomes priceless. Notice the pattern? Stability doesn't remove problems. It transforms how you move through them. And that transformation changes how women see you, not as another guy reacting to life, but as a man strong enough to lead through life. Marcus Aurelius lived in constant crisis, yet he wrote, "If you're distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." That's the essence of emotional stability. It's not about controlling the world. It's about controlling yourself in the world. And that single difference changes the game completely. The Stoic path to unshakable attraction and fulfillment. At this point, it should be clear emotional stability isn't just one trait among many. It's the foundation, the hidden current running beneath attraction, respect, and long-term connection. But here's the deeper truth. Cultivating this stability is not about getting women. It's about becoming unshakable in yourself. The Stoics believe that the good life isn't found in wealth, pleasure, or approval. It's found in mastering your response to the world. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. When you build that power, attraction becomes a natural byproduct." Women are drawn to men who are grounded because it signals something primal: safety, strength, and certainty. But more importantly, you become someone you respect. Someone who moves through life with clarity, regardless of chaos. A woman might first notice your looks. She might admire your status. But what keeps her, and what creates true fulfillment in your own life, is your ability to remain steady in storms. That's why the same studies that show emotional stability is attractive also show it's tied to leadership, resilience, and life satisfaction. It's not just about her. It's about you living as a man who doesn't bend to every emotion, who doesn't collapse under pressure, who doesn't need external validation to feel worthy. That kind of man doesn't chase attraction. He creates it. So what's the Stoic path in modern terms? Each day, ask yourself, what's in my control? And release the rest. When anger rises, pause before speaking. Mastery is built in that pause. When fear whispers, act anyway. Stability doesn't mean absence of fear. It means courage in spite of it. Journal your emotions at night, not to complain, but to understand. Clarity leads to calm. Surround yourself with challenge, physical, mental, emotional, because pressure is the forge where stability is tempered. When you live this way, women notice. Yes, but so does the rest of the world. Employers, friends, strangers, they're all drawn to a man who walks through fire without panic. This is the Stoic path, not seeking to be liked, but seeking to be whole. Not chasing validation, but living by principle. And paradoxically, that is the very thing that makes you magnetic. So the next time you wonder what women truly find attractive, remember this. It isn't just charm or looks. It's the quiet strength of a man who owns himself. A man who can stand in stillness while the storm rages. That's not just attraction. That's fulfillment. That's freedom. We've walked through the hidden truth behind attraction. Not the shallow games. Not the quick tricks. But the deeper principle, the trait that psychology confirms and that the Stoics live by: emotional stability. From the pain of modern dating to the timeless wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, to the studies that prove women are drawn to grounded men, it all points to one reality. True attraction is not built in the gym mirror. It's not built in your bank account. It's built in the furnace of your inner life. Because when you stop reacting and start responding, you stop being a boy at the mercy of his impulses, and you become a man who commands respect without saying a word. That kind of presence doesn't just draw women. It inspires trust, admiration, and influence in every area of life. And here's the paradox. The more you seek validation, the less you'll have it. But the moment you ground yourself in inner power, you no longer need it. And that's when it flows to you effortlessly. This is what the Stoics understood. This is what modern psychology confirms. And this is what you have the power to embody: starting today. So if this video resonated with you, here's what I want you to do. First, hit the subscribe button, because this channel is here to help you unlock timeless wisdom, unshakable confidence, and unstoppable clarity. Second, drop a comment, share one moment where you lost your calm, and how you're going to approach it differently after today. And third, share this video with a friend who needs to hear this truth. Because the world doesn't just need more men, it needs more grounded men. Remember, women may be attracted to many things, but they respect and cherish one thing above all: a man who cannot be shaken. Carry that with you. Live it. And watch how your entire life begins to change.